Good morning, beautiful people of planet Earth and all other sentient beings and all interdimensional life forms across the multiverse as well. Let's just include everybody. It occurred to me before I made this video that many people on planet Earth, because they're still locked away in their own indigenous cultures deep in the Amazon or other far reaches off the grid, don't have the internet, so they don't get to see all the crazy and wild and magical and sometimes downright astonishing presentations and manifestations of other humans in Western civilization that have the luxury of the internet. Am I right? So I've been reading you stories from actual hard copy books in the event that we don't have the internet and we'll have to revert to paper copies. And also I enjoy reading. I enjoy reading out loud. I've been doing it since early childhood. I used to get kicked out of Wellington public libraries in New Zealand for reading with such gusto and passion as a 7-year-old, out loud and doing all the voices and probably being a natural little actor, which is ironic since my daughter trained and educated to be an actress and an actor and is a success in her own right, and Mama T never made it with anything. But I tell my stories and I take delight in that, and I'm satisfied with what is, what was, and what will be, and also what will never be in the world of Never Never Land. Just have to reach acceptance, babies. On a happy note, let's not think about the never nevers and the coulda, woulda, shouldas, but ain't. And let's focus on my beautiful day I had yesterday. So here's how it went. I got up and as usual I did I finished off the healing blanket video with you and read the last of that wonderful healing, spiritual, beautiful Native American Ojibwa wisdom with you. And I decided I wanted to go to Maiala Forest at Mount Glorious, which is about a 1.5 hour drive north of where I live here at Holland Park. And I had texted my friend Jared yesterday, and I even complained in my video. I said, I just feel such rejection and fucking abandonment because he doesn't respond to texts very often anymore, often doesn't take phone calls, and I take it personally as some kind of abandonment. And it's my own trauma issues. It's got nothing to do with him per se or anyone else, but I really struggle with abandonment, and I didn't used to so much because fucking used to it, lifetime of horrific abuse, emotional, mental, physical, sexual, financial, even spiritual. But I don't know, it must be something to do with the fact that I'm alone all the time and I'm getting older and I'm struggling to adjust to this CPAP, and I've undergone some kind of metamorphosis where I'm like spiritually the most powerful I've ever been, and I'm conscious that I can be even more powerful, but I'm afraid to open up too much to it because who knows, I have to preserve my mind, my intellect, my emotions. But I decided after I finished the video, I went and took a little tea towel that my neighbours behind me had wrapped beautiful bread in that they gifted me. So I returned that to them, had a chat to them, and I'd also rung my friend Jared and I said, Jared, I'm trying you one more. This is how I spoke to him. I just sound like somebody's cantankerous, nasty old crone, bitter old grandmother. I'm trying you one more time. I'm done with this game that we play. I said, I texted you early yesterday morning, no reply all day, no reply today. So I'm trying you one more time. And I could hear him almost laughing because he knows me well. We've been friends for 32 years. I said, I want to go to Maiala, and I don't want to go alone. I mean, I'm quite capable of going alone. Go alone everywhere. I fucking go as I'm alone with my spirits and my angels and my fae and the ancestors that love me, but physically I'm alone. I said, but I don't want to go alone, and it's a beautiful day. So I'm trying you one more time. You have the right to say no, I said, but just fucking communicate with me, I said, and tell me, are you coming with me to Maiala this afternoon or not? Because I'm going, and I want you to come with me. So I was really fucking bolshy and aggressive and decisive and the man, because, yeah, my inner man is forced to be reckoned with. If you ever meet my inner man, be afraid, be very afraid. That man could have been President of the United States. That man could have prevented the entire COVID epoch single-handedly, but unfortunately everyone was under the mass formation psychosis. But Mama T does not fuck with her inner man. When her inner man says, this needs to be done and it's going to be done now and today, even I jump to attention and think, right, I have to pull myself together. I have to galvanise all my resources, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and I have to make this thing happen, which some of you have probably seen my inner man out in the dance scene, when I'm dancing wildly and joyously and I see some fucking predator lurking or impeding on one of my women friends, my inner man will just grab the woman and pull her over there to slide me out of the, which I did do on Friday. It's astonishing, and it just happens instinctively. It's not meant as an attack on anyone. I just react, trauma response, react. Threat, deal with it, get to safety, eyeball the threatener, who usually slinks away because they're usually just sad little fucking lost boys trying to flick their dick at some unsuspecting female, and it's all no harm in that if everyone's amenable to it, but I happen to be well aware that that situation was not going to go well, because that beautiful woman has a partner, and she wasn't fully cognizant of what was going on, and I was, so there you have it. But yeah, that's just an example, a small example of when you get to meet the Tanya's inner man, and it frightens off most men. It's why I don't have relationships. Most men are intimidated by my man, because that part of my psyche is he's the father I never had, the big brother I never had, and I didn't have any brothers. Jared's my brother. Jared's my real brother, not of blood, because, how do they put it? Brother from another mother. Jared's my brother, but growing up, I had, the neighbourhood boys down the road that kind of acted like, biggish brothers too, but I never had an actual brother, so I had no protection at all, none, zero, zip, de nada. Wasn't safe anywhere, except maybe in my friend Lynn's home, because her father was decent to me. But if I bring out my inner man, it's an astonishing thing, because that entity, that manifestation of my psyche is, as I said, very, very powerful and very, very intimidating, and I even start talking like kind of blokey and swearing and swaggering. It is kind of an alter ego in a sense. So where was I going with that? Yeah, telling Jared and my inner man voice, get your ass together and get your act together. We're going to the Maiala forest, so it'd be good for both of us. So he starts, demurring, oh, I've got a job on, oh, I've got this. I said, look, I get it, you got a job on, work's important, I don't work, I do what I want, whatever, in the space-time continuum. I'm a free agent, I get it. I said, so, we can work around it. I'll wait for you to complete the task and we'll go later because I want to see the fireflies anyway, so it doesn't hurt if we go later in the afternoon. Or he says, no, he says, with sweetness and such love. He's such a sweet man. He really is. He's my darling. He says, no, I've decided you're right. You're right. I was going to ring you today, he said. I said, well, you didn't, did you? I had to ring you fast. And a man still cranky about the rejection and the abandonment, the neglect. So, honestly, we like Darby and Joan, the two of us. But it's never been a sexual component to our friendship. Never, ever, ever, ever. And but we're like brother and sister, bantering, and it's quite delightful at times. He doesn't banter with me too often because I can be a bit cranky and I don't like conflict all the time. I like stability and I like peace. I like to know where I stand with people, and I like consistency. I don't like games. Games really fucking grind my gears. Like fun games where you're just being playful and mischievous, but not nasty, invidious, setting you up kind of games. Anyway, my beautiful Jared says to me, I'll finish my job when I get home tonight. I can do it tonight, and I'll be there in an hour. I said, excellent. So, hang up from him, I pop round to the neighbours to return their tea towel and excitedly tell them about how I'm going to go to Maiala. And I told them to their face that I was very hurt and thank you that they didn't come for the clothes 6 weeks ago. I said, because I've been and bought a lovely morning tea and I was afternoon tea, and I was looking forward to actually having you both here. The girlfriend apologised profusely. I said, look, I'm not mad at you really. I said, I was mad in that moment because I'd spent a fair bit of money on afternoon tea. And not just that, looking forward to it, and not just that, the rejection, But she apologised. I said, I'm not mad at you. I said, since everyone's had this, everyone's headspace is all over the place and people just, you're in your own dreaming. You're not all on the same page as me. You're not all with us. I said, my other friends do it too. Just drift off and don't communicate. It's odd. It's fucking odd. Especially from Jared, who prior to 2 years ago was an excellent communicator and never let me down. Would always return my calls and my texts, and was always respectful. But we're all struggling. I'm struggling too. I am. I'm struggling too. I've become more fragile and vulnerable too. Fully conscious of that. So anyway, I said to them, it's all good, honey. I said, don't worry about it. But I gave the clothes to charity because you didn't come, and I waited a few more weeks and didn't hear from you. And they said, we should get your phone number. We live right behind each other. And we probably should, but I kind of just smiled and held back on that. I've got serious trust issues now. Let me down once, let me down twice. It's like bing, bam, boom, baby. I don't give more than 3 chances. I made that rule up about 10 years ago under horrific abuse situations with people out in the scene. 3 strikes, you're out. You just have to live by that. They show them their true colours once, it's bad. They show their truest, darkest colours twice, it's even worse. But 3 times you've given more than fair opportunities for people to consistently fucking hurt you, then it's time to snip, snip, snip and walk away. And sometimes I still give even more chances depending on how deep an attachment or a love I have for that person. I hate to tell you how many chances I gave Dave, by the way. Far, far too many for Jesus. Anyway, doesn't matter now. That man was empty and soulless and not for me, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Imagine the life I would have had with someone that was that fucking sadomasochistic and evil. I'm sure he's not giving a good life to anyone else either, or they're equally as sadistic and get off on it. You have to be that level of sickness to sustain that kind of lifestyle, and I choose not to live in a state of perpetual evil and sickness and perversion. So anyway, my beautiful friend Jared arrived in just under an hour. He must have put a rocket under his pocket because it takes about 40 minutes for him to drive to my place. So he arrived all happy and excited. So I said, look, I'm driving, going in my car, and let's just go. And off we went, and we got there, and I'll show you the photos quickly because I can show you because they're on my iPhone. Let me just see. Here's my friend Jared and I said, let's get a nice photo of us together, looking happy and sanguine at the beginning of the walk through Maiala Forest. And then I just take photos of random trees and things that are pretty and interesting. Here's some shrooms. There's a beautiful sunlit glow in the back of the trees, which I thought was lovely. Tree. Here's Grandmother Tree. I call her Grandmother Tree. We always visit her and we always say little prayers and wishes and have blessings there. She's a massive big tree. She's ancient. I just walk around her. I always give her an offering and talk to her, and she calls me sometimes. She calls me. And there was another tree that I liked the fact that it had this shape of an eye in its bark, like kind of the evil eye casting out evil. So it kind of looks more serpentine with that line across it. Have to laugh considering I've got a snakey still here, by the way. It's still my pet. And then I was intrigued by this little cute little face that was in the bark of this tree. Looks like a little face going, yes, Charlie. There's another, just a big empty tree trunk. But I won't show them all to you. Oh, I love how whoever's in charge of the forest carved little steps into the fallen down trees and made it so lovely. What else can I show you? Oh, Jared and I were both very intrigued by all the moss on this tree trunk. Beautiful moss. The colours don't quite show up on my laptop computer screen, which is a shame because they're so bright green, they're almost hair colour and almost iridescent. Here's me looking happy and a bit fey in the forest. But it's good for me. I have the fresh air and there was the most wonderful fragrances. We worked out it was the strangler figs as we were walking through. It smelt sweet and pungent and almost like port wine magnolia. And I said to Jade, there's no port wine magnolias here. The mushrooms that I was intrigued by. And Jared looks at us. So it's only at certain parts that we get this fragrance. Jared very wisely, he's a very intelligent man, my friend Jared, my brother Jared, very wisely said it'll be the Strangler Figs, Tanya. Can you see it? The shape of the, no. The shape of this tree root just snaking out looks also like a serpent, the way it's meandering out. Here's another one of me I took down in the rainforest down low as we were walking towards the waterfalls. Down, down, down. It's a fairly long walk. I did well. Coming back up was a struggle, but I did well. The backs of my legs were all pinching, all the nerve was pinching, and I was in pain coming back. And I thought, oh, but Jesus, I'm not going to make it, but I did well. And I was intrigued by these black basalt rocks. There were other rocks, but these seemed to have moisture. Can you see it? Moisture on them. There was like seeping moisture, and yet the rocks beside it were dry, so they must absorb more water than other rocks. It was really interesting. This is a tree trunk that actually traverses the rainforest there. I was almost tempted to walk on it, but I thought my luck would be a fucking snake or I'll fall off it. But my inner child wanted to walk across it, and had I still been a child, I was very brave and audacious as a child. I would have done just that. Here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but Jared set the video. We stayed till night time so we could, oh yes, you can see the little flickering lights. So we could see the fireflies. Jared said we wouldn't see any, it's the wrong time of year, and I said to him, no, I said, we saw them last time we went for Crystal's birthday a few years back. Here's me, I was recording the sound that all the cicadas make, which is intensely loud, and Jared was filming me, and I had no idea he was filming me, just kind of cute. 6:25. It's me recording. But anyway, hilarious. And then Jared took this of this beautiful flower because he was wanting to capture the bee. Beautiful bee. He delighted in the bees. We were looking down at the waterfall and there were these native bees drinking. But look, it's a magical, spiritual, natural, sacred space. And it's just beautiful. And I feel better for having been there. Here's some little potoroos, little kind of like wallaby type creatures. I feel better for having been there. I'm glad we went together. Because, you know, on Friday nights and or Saturday nights when I go dancing, usually on a Friday night, I won't show you anymore, that's enough, I don't want to bore you, but I'm surrounded in this electronic EMF radiation, you know, from the electric guitars and all the sound equipment and the DJ and the lighting, and I'm dancing wildly in my primal, earthy, shamanic, wild moshing dance. Didn't get to mosh on Friday because I left early before they get into the harder stuff, but sometimes they withhold it. I don't know why that is, but it doesn't matter. I left earlier anyway. I'd been there since 10. I actually was dancing for another band that was there earlier, and they were okay. They were quite good. Paper Lane, I think they were. So they were okay. But of course, my favourite bands are Alter Egos and Ramjet. So yes, I after being immersed in all that heightened electric throttling kind of state, it's I need nature to just let it all calm the fuck down. Yes, I manifested my carpet snake. I made these 2 years ago, and she started coming to the garden last year, so I manifested that snake. Boom, 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 baby. But she's not hurting anything. She just lies at the back side garden, outside Charlie's room, and she's gone back to bed, curled up under the dragon fruit plant. And I've made peace that she's going to live here for. I think she's going to lay eggs, or I don't know if they have live births or if they lay eggs, but I think she's a she, and I think that's what she's hanging around for. Because I remembered my neighbour Warren saying that he had 2 carpet pythons mating in his back tables, and she's the only one in my garden, and she's keeping very close to the protection of the house. She just stays in that side garden right near the fence. She doesn't go anywhere else. So she's either digesting food or she's planning on having babies. Oh, Mama T will be a grandmother to carpet pythons. I'm so fucking delighted about that, as you can tell. But it's okay, it's a circle of life, and hopefully they'll go back to the forest with their mother at the appropriate time. Anyway, she's out there. As I said, I went to check on her. This morning when I got up late today. I slept a bit later because I was tired from the big long hike down to the waterfall and back. And she was in the side garden, stretched out. And then when I went back out, just before I made this video, she's coiled under the dragon fruit next to that. So she's a happy little Vegemite, peaceful and languid and resting and waiting for her life to begin again whenever she decides to get more active and move on from her whatever it is she's doing in her snaky logic. It's delightful. So so anyway, I've shared with you about Maiala, which is a wonderful place to go if you live in Brisbane. Take your kids in the late afternoon, and I think they're only there for a few more weeks, the fireflies, from September till November, I think. And Jared said they wouldn't be there, and then they were there, and we were so delighted, like little kids, him and I. This is why we're still friends. Our inner children come out to play, and we enjoy nature, and we delight in it like little fairy people, little kids, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But I'm glad he came out with it. It did him the power of good too. Did us both the power of good. I feel all emotional today. I feel all raw, kind of open and sweet. So yes, I feel happy and contented and at peace and with what is, and I needed that recalibration. Mama T needs her recalibrations. So that's a lovely breeze coming through the window. So I brought 2 books out for our reading today, and I can't decide. The Prophet, which is absolutely superbly spiritual and beautiful writing, or The World of O. Henry, which will be gritty and real. Is an American author. I don't know from what period he wrote in or he lived in, but anyway, I can't decide whether to just open it at random or to start at the beginning, so we'll start at the beginning and See how we go, eh? See how we go, eh? That sounded Canadian. The world of O. Henry. He was born in 1862. William Sidney Porter, son of a doctor whose practice of medicine took second place to his interest in perpetual motion. His mother died when he was 3. That would have been a hard upbringing, not having a mother. He travelled to Mexico with $30,000, the proceeds of a Jennings robbery, but having knocked around with refugees and consuls for some years, he returned to Austin and was awarded 3 years incarceration in the Ohio State Penitentiary. Here it seems there was a prison guard named Orrin Henry when William Sidney Porter, small-town crook and model prisoner, immortalised as O. Henry, so kind of took on his name and maybe parts of his alter egos as well. So he was a robber. He died at the age of 48, which is young. I mean, I'm 59, so quite young to die. He'd been a lonely man, making do with acquaintances where others demand friends. Twice married, and on his own reckoning the daily consumer of 2 quarts of whiskey. So basically that amount of alcohol daily would classify him as an alcoholic. He haunted the New York streets and bars, endlessly listening to the stories of other people's lives. The world was grist to his typewriter, and towards the end of his life, he lived for nothing else. It's a bit like my other favourite American writer or author, Charles Bukowski, writing about the grit and reality of daily life in America. I try to keep my stories to my reality here in Brisbane, Australia too, and kind of modelling, I guess, off their reality checks. I won't read the whole of the beginning, but that just gives you a brief outline on his character. The last paragraph of the introduction, I will read that because it's interesting. Con men, street men, grafters, barflies, vaudeville players, soap kings, bread kings, scrub women, dice shakers, captains of adventure, girls who are strictly business, loiterers in Bogle's chop house, where the pepper is tasteless and melancholy. The failings of all of them flow as the blood of the O. Henry world. They have not lost their lustre, and at a time when the short story can again hold up its head, it seems right that, being so much part of the history of reform in America, they should again be presented. This was written in 1974, this edition. Their stories are one kind of story. They are not classic, and they are not the only kind. But a renaissance is a varied movement, and I believe this present one would be incomplete without its O. Henry tribute. Now, I decided to read O. Henry because it got referenced in something I was reading to you a while back. I can't remember where the reference was, and I remember saying, oh, I've got a book of O.N. Ren. Actually bought it at the Lifeline Book Festival. I must go back and buy some more wonderful storybooks, and it's comforting in a way to read other people's stories. If you haven't formulated your own stories by now, which Mama T, aka the Tanya psychedelic dreamer, has, but anyway, my story is unfolding every day in every way, as is yours, babies. Make it a good one. Make it full of life and love and hope and inspiration and wisdom and truth and joy, peace if you can muster it, passion and romance with someone who really, really loves you. Don't settle for the scraps from another woman's table, or worse, someone who's false and feckless and trifling with you. Only the very best, la crème de la crème. I said in a video yesterday that I'm looking to get laid again. Tongue in cheek. I am looking forward to getting laid again. But it will only be with a man who shows me in no uncertain terms, over and over again, how deep is his love. Not just the end of his penis, but, you know, stirring me up from time to time, but there for me, consistently, courageously at times, because yes, I too can be an arsehole at times, especially when I think I'm being played, or when there's too many other competing women around and too many games, cruel emotional games get played. Then I have no choice but to walk away, and it is what it is, babies. The right man for me will love me. You know, he might be surrounded by lots of other women because of the nature of, you know, his business or his work or his craft. And I'm okay with that. You can love lots of people. You can be loved by lots of people. But my sexual partner will love only me. That's what I'm holding out for, babies. It's a psychedelic dream. It might never come true since I've never been able to manifest it in the past. Only fake, lackluster, cruel, sadistic fops. But my truest, deepest lover will be a real friend to me, and honouring of me and my spirit and my path and my body, my mind, my soul, all of me. He gets all of me. I'm an all or nothing type of dame. So, and when I say to someone that I love them, I mean it. There's no need for sick, twisted little games to ease me out or push me down or push me away. Don't do that. Not going to impact on your life. If you're not available, you're not available, and I respect that. But I'm allowed to love you. There's no need for toxicity, babies. Just saying. But anyway, Mama T's recalibrating, and she'll decide. She'll decide where next to go with my dance. Who gets to enjoy my energies, my powerful, tribal, shamanic, moshing energies that can bring a man almost to the brink of almost like an orgasm, but not quite, because we ain't going there, babies. But it's a magic and a delight and a joy that we've shared for quite some years now, and it's powerful, and it's the hallmark of our entire friendship, connection, relationship. Not that we're in a real relationship, but that kind of deep, soul nourishing intimacy. It's a richness that I might have to starve you of if you keep playing cruel games with my heart and mind. Mama T can take her mosh anywhere, or I can keep it for myself. Put on the Spotify and mosh at home and feed myself with my own deep earth, honouring earth, loving, sexual, magical, powerful energies. It's a gift that I have been giving freely for a long, long time, sparking joy and delight, and it's a symbiosis, goes both ways. Think about it. Anyway, Mama T has spoken, and not many people understand what I'm talking about right now, so I'm okay with that too. Chapter 1. The Unknown Quantity. The poet Longfellow, or was it Confucius, the inventor of wisdom, remarked, "Life is real, life is earnest, and things are not what they seem." Says it all really, doesn't it? What are you doing up there, Charlie? I don't think you should be perching on that wonderful lamb. You just come to Mum and be a good girl. Oh, you've got very hot feet. You've got very hot feet. You're a hot little birdie, num. We could go in the garden and play with the birdies, but Snakey's going to get you. Snaky, she saw the snake the other day. She literally fell out of the tree. Fell out. Absolutely terrified she was. Just seeing it. So we're not silly, are we? We're going to stay safe with our mama too. Are we going to do the mosh later, Charlie? Mama feels the need to do the mosh. Yes. Shall we do the mosh? Oh, with their tanks and their guns and their things and their arms. Mama do the moshy. You was a beautiful bird. Mama, she says, you're distracted and you're segueing the story. Yes, that's let's get back with the program. As mathematics are, or is, thanks old subscriber, the only just rule by which questions of life can be measured, let us, by all means, adjust our theme to the straight edge and the balanced column of the great goddess. 2 and 2 makes 4. Figures, unassailable sums in addition, shall be set over against whatever opposing element there may be. A mathematician, after scanning the above 2 lines of poetry, would say, young gentlemen, if we assume that X plus, that is, that life is real, then things, all of which life includes, are real. Anything that is real is what it seems. Then if we consider the proposition that things are not what they seem, why? But this is heresy and not poesy. We woo the sweet nymph algebra. I fucking hate algebra. It never made any sense to me. It's probably why I don't have a love life, because none of that makes sense either. We would conduct, well, I do have a love life, in a weird kind of strange way. Get songs sung to me. powerful messages in the songs about red letters and dying and not making it. Oh, yes, Mama T is well aware. It's all right, my darling. I still love you. I will always love you. Always. Doesn't mean that we'll ever be lovers, but I'll always love you. Trying to push me off onto other men like I'm yesterday's used goods. Still not quite over that one. But anyway. What did Grandmother Tree tell me yesterday? Just keep living your best life, Tanya. Never cede, never quit, never yield. The right man will see you and honour you and love you just as much. Have no fear, baby girl. She's right. Grandmother was always right. That tree's lived hundreds and hundreds of years. She's seen white men come and decimate the forest. She's seen climate alterations and harp. She's seen storms and tempests. She's seen bright, sunny, glittering days. She's had many birds and creatures live in her canopy safely with mutual symbiotic respect. She's breathed in carbon dioxide and breathed out oxygen. She's lived wildly and triumphantly and graciously as any other living sentient, being. I'm going to be like that tree. Hold my ground, my sacred ground. Not rooted in one spot, but free to be me in all worlds, paradigms, dimensions. Motto verses. The one who loves me will come and find me and join with me at the appointed time of his own free will, with deep, heartfelt, tender passion and love for me. And so it is. Amen Basila, or in the Native American language, Aho. With harm to none and competition with none, so it is done. Let's make sure we put that little disclaimer in. Not causing harm or hurt to anyone else. Certainly not causing harm or hurt to myself or my beloved one, whoever that person might turn out to be in the future. Frankly, I don't know. Guess I'll never know, will I? I have to make peace with never knowing, letting it all go, continuously dancing my dance, no matter what, no matter who, no matter what writhing agonies or ecstasies I might be rather enjoying or labouring under. Life goes on, beautiful people of earth, and it's beautiful and it's triumphant and it's spiritual and it's magical and it's all I know how to be now after a lifetime of the most epic fucking ghastly horror. So excuse me while I might have to scream occasionally just to let off a bit of pent up tension. Goddess bless us all. We woo the sweet nymph algebra. We would conduct you into the presence of the elusive, seductive, pursued, satisfying, mysterious X. Didn't that idiot Elon Musk change the name of Twitter to X a few years back? Not long before the beginning of the century, Septimus Kinsolving, an old New Yorker, invented an idea. He originated the discovery that bread is made from flour and not from wheat futures. Perceiving that the flour crop was short and that the stock exchange was having no perceptible effect on the growing wheat, Mr. Kinsolving cornered the flour market. The result was that when you, or my landlady, before the war she never had to turn her hand to anything, Southerners accommodated. I've got to think about that line, what he's actually saying there. Sounds a bit compromising. Bought a 5-cent loaf of bread. You lay down an additional 2 cents, which went to Mr. Kinsolving as a testimonial to his perspicacity. The second result was that Mr. Kinsolving quit the game with $2 million prof rake-off. In other words, the con man and the thief, am I right? There's plenty of those out in the world, darlings. My mother married one. She liked con men and thieves and dickheads and useless fucking men. That's why I fight so hard against drawing those types into my life. But I did up until 10 years ago. Then I drew a line in that sand in the most profound and astonishing way and got vomited back by the gods to carry on my walk on planet Earth. And to my credit, I haven't drawn any more con men or dickheads into my life. I mean, they come to me thick and fast, mostly thick, very, very fast, you know, in the dance spaces, fancying their chances, but I flick them all off, all of them, every motherfucking one. As I can smell mendacity when it's oiling around, slathering around me. After decades of pain, I finally learnt a little bit of discernment, but I can still be taken for a fool, people of Earth. I'm a woman with real heart and passion and delight, and everyone deserves to be loved, even me. Shocking. It's shocking to come to that gnosis. I actually said it to my friend Juddy and my friend Ness, Ramjet, were playing. And Ness was telling me how in love she was with her man at that time. That has changed, but sadly. But at that time I was rejoicing for her, and I said to her, my words were, Juddy was listening in, sweetness. To you, Juddy. My words to her was, everyone deserves their truest, deepest love, even me. And Juddy did a little nod, and I thought that was so sweet. Their heartfelt intentions for me, wishing me to be at long last in a loving, sexual, intimate, loyal, faithful partnership with a man who really loves me. It's sweet, and I took particular note of that because I haven't had much sweetness in my lifetime. People wanting me to win and wanting me to have a loving partner. It's been a lot of sabotage and viciousness and sadism and cruelty and in the Brisbane music scene over many years. So when I saw them wishing for me happiness and joy and delight and peace with a man who adores me, I took that as a sign that that person's coming into my life. I don't know when, but he's either here now or he's going to manifest very, very soon, babies. And I'm excited about that prospect, because everyone deserves their one true love. everyone. Mr. Kinsolvi's son, Dan, was at college when the mathematical experiment in breadstuffs was made. Dan came home during vacation and found the old gentleman in a red dressing gown reading Little Dorrit on the porch of his estimable red brick mansion in Washington Square. He had retired from business with enough extra 2-cent pieces from bread buys to reach, if laid side by side, 15 times around the earth and lap as far as the public debt of Paraguay. Jesus. Dan shook hands with his father and hurried over to Greenwich Village to see his old high school friend, Ken Witz. Dan had always admired Ken Witz. Ken Witz was pale, curly-haired, intense, serious, mathematical, studious, altruistic, socialistic, and the natural foe of oligarchies. Well, apart from the curly hair and the mathematics, could be describing me too. You have to laugh. Ken Witz had foregone college and was learning watchmaking in his father's jewellery store. Well, there you go. Dan was smiling, jovial, easy-tempered, and tolerant alike of kings and ragpickers. That also describes me. Well, I'm usually easily tempered if someone decides to ride on my assets, figuratively speaking, if not literally. Don't do that, people of Earth. Respect my body autonomy. The two foregathered joyously, being opposites. And then Dan went back to college, and Ken Witz to his mainsprings and his private library in the rear of the jewellery shop. I might go out later. I want to get some more. I want to buy some more books. I want to buy more occult and magical books if I can find them out there in the world. They're not too expensive a price. Second hand, of course. If it's meant to be, it'll flow to me quickly and easily, just like my true love of man's flowing to new babies. Oh, well, I've got more hope of getting some good books. Let's be real here. But anyway. 4 years later, Dan came back to Washington Square with the accumulations of BA and 2 years of Europe thick upon him. He took a filial look at Septimus Kinsolving's elaborate tombstone in Greenwood and a tedious excursion through typewritten documents with the family lawyer, and then, feeling himself a lonely and hopeless millionaire, hurried down to the old jewellery store across 6th Avenue. I guess what's worse than being a poor person who's lonely and hopeless is being a millionaire who's lonely and hopeless. Makes me feel infinitely better. Might be poor, but everything I have I own. It's paid for. Don't have any enormous debts. Still paying off that fucking ignoble, treacherous, feckless, false parking fine that the BCC thrusted upon me unwittingly. The bastards. But when that's paid off, I won't have any more debts. And, I'm chipping away at my zip pay. I've paid off my afterpay. I'll be debt free in a few months, so I'll be poor but I'll be rich babies. I'll own no man or woman or child, anything, and my little bit of, stipend that comes my way, my paltry fucking stipend. If I'm careful, I can put some money aside and put it towards my little trip to go home to New Zealand to see my friend. And yes, Mama T, I think, will be doing that. But being a millionaire and it's all on paper and you don't actually have any cash flow is just as bad as being poor, babies. Money is an energy like love. It comes, it goes. Sometimes, if you respect it and treat it well, it stays and it grows and builds and blossoms and matures and brings great accumulation and delight. But like anything, make sure it's real, babies. Personally, if I had money, I'd be investing in gold and silver, because everything else is sure to turn to shit sometime in the near future, and it's not good, babies. Have something tangible to hold on to, like my paper books and my fucking attitude and my love of life. Ken Vitz unscrewed I gotta put my leg up, get my soul. Unscrewed a magnifying glass from his eye, routed out his parent from a dingy rear room, and abandoned the interior of watches for outdoors. He went with Dan, and they sat on a bench in Washington Square. Dan had not changed much. He was stalwart and had a dignity that was inclined to relax into a grin. Pardon me. Ken Vitz was more serious, more intense, more learned, philosophical and socialistic. I know about it now, said Dan finally. I pumped it out of the eminent legal lights that turned over to me. Poor old Dad's collection of bonds and boodle. It amounts to $2 million, Ken. And I am told that he squeezed it out of the chaps that pay their pennies for loaves of bread at the little bakeries around the corner. You've studied economics, Ken, and you know all about monopolies and the masses and octopuses and the rights of labouring people. I never thought about those things before. Football and trying to be white to my fellow man were about the extent of my college curriculum. But since I came back and found out how Dad made his money, I've been thinking, I'd like awfully well to pay back those chaps who had to give up too much money for bread. Yes, indeed. I know it would buck the line of my income for a good many yards, but I'd like to make it square with them. Is there any way it can be done? Old ways and means? Ken Witz's big black eyes glowed fierily. His thin, intellectual face took on almost a sardonic cast. He caught Dan's arm with the grip of a friend and a judge. You can't do it, he said emphatically. One of the chief punishments of you men of ill-gotten wealth is that when you do repent, you find that you have lost the power to make reparation or restitution. Motherfuckers. It's how they get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. Where is my settlement? Ethicon, supposed to come in December. Keep saying there's delays, motherfuckers. Cowards and vermin. All of them. They claim to be held back by Centrelink. Isn't that ironic? I admire your good intentions, Dan, but you can't do anything. Those people were robbed of their precious pennies. In my case, robbed of my full health and vitality, am I right? Been fighting for decades to get that back. I pity the fool who tries to rob me of my vitality ever again. It's too late to remedy the evil. You can't pay them back. Of course, said Dan, lighting his pipe. We couldn't hunt up every one of the duffers and hand 'em back the right change. There's an awful lot of 'em buying bread all the time. Funny taste they have. I never cared for bread especially, except for a toasted cracker with the Roquefort. Or was it Roquefort? Roquefort? It's a kind of exquisite cheese. But we might find a few of them and chuck some of Dad's cash back where it came from. I'd feel better if I could. Seems tough for people to be held up for a soggy thing like bread. One wouldn't mind standing a rise in broiled lobsters or devilled crabs. Get to work and think, Ken. I want to pay back all of that money I can. There are plenty of charities, said Ken Witz mechanically. I wouldn't be so keen on that, since they skim off the cream of that for their administration. Want to give to charity? Find a homeless person in the street and give them actual cash. Or, if you don't trust that they're straight and not going to obliterate themselves on drugs, buy them a decent fucking meal. Better yet, eat it with them and treat them like a human being and hear their story, am I right? Not this throwing money at some invisible thing with a label attached to it, never knowing where the money went or who profited by it, while the poor kept fucking poor and never see that charity. See also Australian bushfire charities. Oh, evil it was. That's still going on. Trust me on that. Motherfuckers they were and still are. But I digress. Easy enough, said Dan, in a cloud of smoke. I suppose I could give the city a park or endow an asparagus bed in a hospital. Oh, that's kind of funny. Endow an asparagus bed. But I don't want Paul to get away with the proceeds of the gold brick we sold Peter. It's the bread shorts I want to cover, Ken. The thin fingers of Kenwitz moved rapidly. Do you know how much money it would take to pay back the losses of consumers during that corner in flour, he asked. I do not, said Dan stoutly. My lawyer tells me that I have 2 millions. If you had 100 millions, said Kenwitz vehemently, you couldn't repair 1,000th part of the damage that has been done. You cannot conceive of the accumulated evils produced by misapplied wealth. Each penny that was wrung from the lean purses of the poor reacted 1,000-fold to their harm. Indeed it does. Ask me how the fuck I know. You do not understand. You do not see how hopeless is your desire to make restitution. Not in a single instance can it be done. But if you can do it, you should fucking do it, motherfuckers. It's a matter of honour and principle. Don't obfuscate your role, you low-slung cowards. Back up, philosopher, said Dan. The penny has no sorrow that the dollar cannot heal. Not in one instance, repeated Kenvitz. I will give you one and let us see. Thomas Boyne had a little bakery over there at Varick Street. He sold bread to the poorest people. When the price of flour went up, he had to raise the price of bread. His customers were too poor to pay it. Boyne's business failed, and he lost his $1,000 capital, all he had in the world. Dan Kinsolving struck the park bench a mighty blow with his fist. I accept the instance, he cried. Take me to Boyne. I will repay his $1,000 and buy him a new bakery. Write your cheque, said Kenvitz, without moving, and then begin to write cheques in payment of the train of consequences. Draw the next one for $50,000. Boyne went insane after his failure and set fire to the building from which he was about to be evicted. The loss amounted to that much. Boyne died in an asylum. Stick to the instance, said Dan. I haven't noticed any insurance companies on my charity list. Draw your next cheque for $100,000, went on Kenvitz. Boyne's son fell into bad ways after the bakery closed and was accused of murder. He was acquitted last week after a 3 years legal battle, and the state draws upon taxpayers for that much expense. Back to the bakery, exclaimed Dan impatiently. The government doesn't need to stand in the bread line. The last item of the instance is, come and I will show you, said Kenvitz, rising. The socialistic watchmaker was happy. He was a millionaire baiter by nature and a pessimist by trade. Kenvitz would assure you in one breath that money was but evil and corruption, and that your brand new watch needed cleaning and a new ratchet wheel. He conducted Kinsolving southward out of the square into ragged, poverty-haunted Varick Street. Up the narrow stairway of a squalid brick tenement, he led the penitent offspring of the octopus. He knocked on a door and a clear voice called to them to enter. In that almost bare room, a young woman sat sewing at a machine. She nodded to Kenvitz as to a familiar acquaintance. One little stream of sunlight through the dingy window burnished her heavy hair to the colour of an ancient Tuscan's shield. I'm thinking bronze. She flashed a rippling smile at Kenvitz and a look of somewhat flustered inquiry. Kinsolving stood regarding her clear and pathetic beauty in heart-throbbing silence. Thus they came into the presence of the last item of the instance. How many this week, Miss Mary? Asked the watchmaker. A mountain of coarse grey shirts lay upon the floor. Nearly 30 dozen, said the young woman cheerfully. I've made almost $4. I'm improving, Mr. Kenvitz. I hardly know what to do with so much money. Her eyes turned, brightly soft, in the direction of Dan. Little pink spot came out on her round, pale cheek. That means she liked him. Kenvitz chuckled like a diabolic raven. Miss Boyne, he said, let me present Mr. Kinsolving, the son of the man who put bread up 5 years ago. He thinks he would like to do something to aid those who were inconvenienced by that act. The smile left the young woman's face. She rose and pointed her forefinger toward the door. This time she looked Kinsolving straight in the eye. But it was not a look that gave delight. The two men went down into Varick Street. Kenvitz, letting all his pessimism and rancour and hatred of the octopus come to the surface, jibed at the moneyed side of his friend in an acrid torrent of words. Dan appeared to be listening and then turned to Kenvitz and shook hands with him warmly. "I'm obliged to you, Ken, old man," he said vaguely. "1,000 times obliged." "Mein Gott, you are crazy," cried the watchmaker, dropping his spectacles for the first time in years. 2 months afterward, Kenvitz went into a large bakery on Lower Broadway with a pair of gold-rimmed eyeglasses that he had mended for the proprietor. A lady was giving an order to a clerk as Kenvitz passed her. "These loaves are 10 cents," said the clerk. "I always get them at 8 cents uptown," said the lady. "You need not fill the order. I will drive by there on my way home." The voice was familiar. The watchmaker paused. "Mr. Kenvitz," cried the lady heartily. "How do you do?" Kenvitz was trying to train his socialistic and economic comprehension on her wonderful fur boa and the carriage waiting outside. "Why, Miss Boyne," he began. "Mrs. Consolving," she corrected. "Dan and I were married a month ago." The end of that wonderful story. Chapter 2. These are actually individual stories, so each chapter is its own story. Cosmopolity in a cafe. At midnight the cafe was crowded. By some chance the little table at which I sat had escaped the eye of incomers, and 2 vacant chairs at it extended their arms with venal hospitality to the influx of patrons. And then a cosmopolite sat in one of them, and I was glad, for I held a theory that since Adam no true citizen of the world has existed. It makes me think about that. I met an older man, because I used to cruise the Jewish student conferences hoping to pick up a young virginal bride, am I right? I was young and virginal, but not quite ready to be a bride at 17, although astonishingly I blew that right out of my paradigm by marrying my first boyfriend at 19 and 1 month. But at 17, I hadn't yet that man who was destined to be the father of my children. Dear Goddess, dear Goddess. Mustn't think about that. But I was at this Jewish student conference. It was at Lake Taupo. Oh, did the men go wild for me at that conference? They went absolutely berserk. It was astonishing and actually a bit terrifying, to be honest. I'd never experienced anything like that in my life before. Men drawn to me like moths to the flame. And look, I was a pretty young thing and I was slim in those days, but I was always a short little hobbit with big feet and a slim hobbit in those days, and the freshness of youth, and I was feeling confident because I was at university and I had the world at my feet. Anyway, this quite nice looking older man in his early 30s sat down with me one evening. We were all together in a group, nothing dodgy people, and sat down to chat to me, look after the the dinner we'd all had. I'm a cosmopolitan, he said. What's that? I said. 17, still a bit ignorant about certain things in the world, especially human sexuality, in particular human sexuality, completely unaware of how desirable I was, how men lusted after me. Wow, adult men lusting after a blossoming into her sexuality young teenage girl is quite fucking confronting at times. Anyway, he was a nice fellow. He was a gentleman and a nice person. A cosmopolitan, he said, is a citizen of the world. So I replied dryly, I reiterate, what does that even mean? He said, well, as a Jew and as a cosmopolitan, everywhere I hang my hat is home. I can be comfortable in any country in the world. I was quite impressed by that. I like that, I said. That makes sense. Be in the world, not of the world. Everywhere you hang your hat, you are home. You belong. Well, I found out it's not that simple. There are places and spaces that are toxic as fuck, like the hellscape Brisbane. I came here with all sweetness and good intentions with my husband and my babies, hoping for a good life, and what did I get in return? Treachery and slander and viciousness and strangulations and sexual assaults and backstabbing and gossip, and did I mention slander? Oh, it was a hotbed of ugliness and evil. But life's gotten better since I've got older, because after that suicide attempt in 2015, Mama T drew a line in the sand. No motherfucker is ever going to fuck with me ever again. The gods in my own inner spirit, soul, inner man, woman, child, simply won't allow it, babies. Enough is enough, am I right? Well, it wasn't enough. Then we had the gallbladder surgery from hell, and again we drew another line. All the lines I've drawn in the sand by now could practically form a fucking moving hexagram with the I Ching. I wonder which moving hexagram it would be. Hopefully the one that represents transformation, metamorphosis, and deep, devoted, pure, loyal, faithful love. I've had enough ugliness in my day. Quite enough. But anyway, I digressed at that true citizen of the world existed. Let us continue. I'm sniffing because this is a very old book and it's got that old book smell, and I'm allergic to dust and dander and whatever the fuck's in these old books. It is what it is, people of Earth. I'm a sensitive little flower, but I'm a powerful spirit, very, very powerful, and I'm calling in all that belongs to me of pure heart, mind, body, soul, and gently releasing the rest that no longer wish to be in my life, with grace and with peace and with deep, deep grief if it's someone I love, but holding on while letting go, but keeping precious those who have stood by me, have proven the test of time that they are true, and they're proud and happy to be with me by my side every day and every night, not necessarily a romantic or a sexual partnership, but a deep soul kinship like my friend Jared, who, pardon me, can be a bit naughty these days, but actually stood up and was counted and came with Mama T to Maiala yesterday, and we had a lovely time. Remember, no matter how angry I get with you at times, Jared, I always will love you. Always. You are my true brother of heart and soul and mind, and by the gods, I'm grateful for you. I am. We hear of them and we see foreign labels on much luggage, but we find travellers instead of cosmopolites. I invoke your consideration of the scene. The marble-topped tables, the range of leather-upholstered wall seats, the gay company, the ladies dressed in demi-state toilets. Demi-state toilets. I don't think they mean an actual toilet. I think they mean demi-state toilets. Half-state. Half-dressed? No, that can't be right, because then he follows it with speaking in an exquisite visible chorus of taste, economy, opulence, or art. The sedulous and largesse-loving garçon, which is French for waiter. The music, so maybe the women are kind of semi-dressed. Well, the music wisely catering to all with its raids upon the composers, the mélange of talk and laughter, and, if you will, the Würzburger and the tall glass cones that bend to your lips as a ripe cherry sways on its branch to the beak of a robber jay. I like that. That's a nice allegory. I was told by a sculptor from Malchchunk that the scene was truly Parisian. I like that too. My cosmopolite was named E. Rushmore Colin, and he will be heard from next summer at Coney Island. He is to establish a new attraction there, he informed me, offering kingly diversion. And then his conversation rang along parallels of latitude and longitude. He took the great round world in his hand, so to speak, familiarly, contemptuously, and it seemed no larger than the seed of a maraschino cherry on a table d'hôte grapefruit. This man was a fucking genius. What was he doing in jail for 3 years for robbery, am I right? My God. He spoke disrespectfully of the equator. He skipped from continent to continent. He derided the zones. He mopped up the high seas with his napkin. With a wave of his hand, he would speak of a certain bazaar in Hyderabad. Oh, I'd love to be able to do that. Travel all around the world to all the most out-of-the-way, sacred spaces. And if I were wealthy, like extremely wealthy, you'd have to be extremely wealthy to be able to afford that. I'd be out of here by now, babies, travelling to all the sacred sites all across the world. Whiff! He would have you on skis in Lapland. Zip! Now you rode the breakers with the Kanakas at Kealaikahiki. Presto! He dragged you through an Arkansas post-oak swamp, let you dry for a moment on the alkali plains of his Idaho ranch, then whirled you into the society of Viennese archdukes. Anon, he would be telling you of a cold he acquired on a Chicago lake breeze and how old Escamilla cured it in Buenos Aires with a hot infusion of the chuchula weed. You would have addressed the letter to E. Rushmore Colon, Esquire, the Earth, Solar System, the Universe, and have mailed it, feeling confident that it would be delivered to him. I was sure that I had at last found the one true cosmopolite since Adam, and I listened to his worldwide discourse, fearful lest I should discover in it the local note of the mere globetrotter. But his opinions never fluttered or drooped. He was as impartial to cities, countries and continents as the winds or gravitation. And as E. Rushmore Colon prattled of this little planet, I thought with glee of a great, almost cosmopolite, who wrote for the whole world and dedicated himself to Bombay. In a poem he has to say that there is pride and rivalry between the cities of the earth, and that the men that breed from them, they traffic up and down, but cling to their city's hen as a child to the mother's gown, but like me, trapped in Brisbane, feel like a flea on a dying dog some days. Dear goddess. But like all fleas, I bite and I jump and I pirouette, and there's a new dog to feed on somewhere. A living dog that nourishes and supports and ennobles and sustains and builds me and gives me great joy and delight and peace and comfort and ease and true lover man out there somewhere. I'm winding you up. Can you tell? Are you wound up yet, baby boys? I'm winding myself up with my poor red little sleep-app machine. Schnoz it. My doctor's plural assisted. I have, dear goddess. Anyway, we won't worry about that. Mama is not really a flea. Maybe she's the dog trying not to die of the venomous fleas that fed on her for too long. Fed from her energy, from her power, from her corazon. And now they are glutted. They're vomiting in a gutter somewhere. Like true vampires, can't sustain Mama T's power for very long. It's too deliciously sweet. Taste a bit of Jack Daniels too, to be honest, and cigars. Charlie, can you give Mum a kiss? I don't smoke cigars often, babies. Very rarely. On average, one every couple of weeks it's been lately. It's unusual for me to smoke, by the way. Metamorphosing as I do. Sometimes I need to make off things to the gods. On the cold face of my little corner of hell, am I right? What are you doing? Should we go and check on where the snake is now? I know. You want to go in the garden with the mama? We could read the story in the garden. But then I have to be hyper vigilant. I can't focus on the story and making sure that you're safe from Snakey at the same time. It's too much pressure for my nervous system. I can only stretch my limbic system so far, Charlie. By the gods, should be a yogi master by now. The way I stretch my fucking limbic system. It's amazing. Who are you, Tanya Aarons? I don't know, but you're amazing. So I've got to give myself little boosts along the way. Right, where were we? I got distracted by limbic systems. Oh yes, cling to their city's hem as a child to the mother's gown, meaning they never leave where they are born and they have no imagination, no money probably to go anywhere, which has been my curse. And but they have no desire to leave their own little neighbourhood even. They're just that fucking boring and parochial and stymied and beaten down and kind of putrescent. It's sad. It's a sad existence. So we were out of our comfort zone yesterday, being in a strange, on the north side of the area, coming back from Maiala. Do you think we could find somewhere to eat? I nearly pulled into a train station, then I nearly pulled into another dead-end place. It was almost a hero's journey, just trying to find somewhere that had actual food. We got there in the end, but I said to Jared, I'm not good at being out of my comfort zone, out of my own places where I know where everything is. So as much as I do want to travel the world, it causes great kind of anxiety to me, not knowing where things are or how to get there or find them. So maybe I'm destined to slowly rot of parochialism myself, trapped in my tiny little sacred space zone where I know where everything is, but it's boring, but it doesn't stretch me either. Getting out of that, moving into strange towns or strange suburbs that you've never been before, finding your way around, the adventure of it. It's very stressful for both Jared and I. So I'm thinking about that too. I have to make more forays and build confidence and build courage up to do new things and go new places and open up my world. Yes. What do you say, Charlie? What do you say? I knew you were going to do that, you little varmint bird. Where did that go? Missed me, thank goodness. Awful lot of feathers down on the floor, Charlie. You've been plucking. You've been plucking, little baby girl. Look at her. Give me a kiss. No kisses for her mama. She's got to be in the mood. Wow, it is what it is, babies. And whenever they walk by roaring streets unknown, they remember their native city, most faithful, foolish, fond, making her near-breathed name, their bond upon their bond. And my glee was roused because I had caught Mr. Kipling napping. Here I had found a man, not made from dust, one who had no narrow boasts of birthplace or country, one who, if he bragged at all, would brag of his whole round globe against the Martians and the inhabitants of the moon. Expression on these subjects was precipitated from E. Rushmore Colon by the third corner to our table. While Colin was describing to me the topography along the Siberian Railway, the orchestra glided into a medley. The concluding air was Dixie, and as the exhilarating notes tumbled forth, they were overpowered by a great clapping of hands from almost every table. 'Tis worth a paragraph to say that this remarkable scene can be witnessed every evening in numerous cafes in the city of New York. Tons of brew have been consumed over theories to account for it. Some have conjectured hastily that all southerners in town hie themselves to cafes at nightfall. This applause of the rebel air in a northern city does puzzle a little, but it is not insolvable. The war with Spain, many years' generous mint and watermelon crops, a few long-shot winners at the New Orleans racetrack, and the brilliant banquets given by the Indiana and Kansas citizens who compose the North Carolina Society have made the South rather a fad in Manhattan. Your manicure will lisp softly that your left forefinger reminds her so much of a gentleman's in Richmond. VA. That'll be Virginia. Oh, certainly, but many a lady has to work now. The war, you know. When Dixie was being played, a dark-haired young man sprang up from somewhere with a Mosby guerrilla yell and waved frantically his soft-brimmed hat. Then he strayed through the smoke, dropped into the vacant chair at our table and pulled out cigarettes. The evening was at the period when reserve is thawed. One of us mentioned 3 Würzburgers to the waiter. The dark-haired young man acknowledged his inclusion in the order by a smile and a nod. I hastened to ask him a question because I wanted to try out a theory I had. Would you mind telling me, I began, whether you were from... The fist of E. Rushmore Colin banged the table and I was jarred into silence. Excuse me, said he, but that's a question I never like to hear asked. What does it matter where a man is from? Is it fair to judge a man by his post office address? Why, I've seen Kentuckians who hated whiskey, Virginians who weren't descended from Pocahontas, Indianians who hadn't written a novel, Mexicans who didn't wear velvet trousers with silver dollars sewed along the seams, funny Englishmen, spendthrift Yankees, cold-blooded Southerners, narrow-minded Westerners, and New Yorkers who were too busy to stop for an hour in the street to watch a one-armed grocer's clerk do up cranberries in paper bags. Let a man be a man, and don't handicap him with the label of any section. Pardon me, I said, but my curiosity was not altogether an idle one. I know the South, and when the band plays Dixie, I like to observe. Here comes my not very good American accent. Oh, I'm a chameleon. I can't help myself, babies. I wear the colour of every space and place I'm taken to. Leave me there long enough and I'll develop your accent too. Dear Goddess, some people think I'm taking the piss, but it's not like that. It just happens organically because I was raised by migrants with accents and I'm attuned. It's kind of a music in the ear. I have formed the belief that the man who applauds that air with special violence and ostensible sectional loyalty is invariably a native of either Secaucus, New Jersey, or the district between Murray Hill, Lyceum, and the Harlem River, this city. I was about to put my opinion to the test by inquiring of this gentleman when you interrupted with your own larger theory, I must confess. And now the dark-haired young man spoke to me, and it became evident that his mind also moved along its own set of grooves. I should like to be a periwinkle, said he, mysteriously, on the top of a valley and sing Tooraloo-raloo. This was clearly too obscure, so I turned again to Colin. I've been around the world 12 times, said he, and I know an Eskimo in Upernavik who sends to Cincinnati for his neckties, and I saw a goat herder in Uruguay who won a prize in a Battle Creek breakfast food puzzle competition. I pay rent on a room in Cairo, Egypt, and another in Yokohama all the year round. I've got slippers waiting for me in a tea house in Shanghai, and I don't have to tell 'em how to cook my eggs in Rio de Janeiro or Seattle. It's a mighty little old world. What's the use of bragging about being from the north or the south or the old manor house in the Dale or Euclid Avenue, Cleveland, so I had a pop-up, or Pikes Peak or Fairfax County, Virginia, or Hooligan's Flats, or any place. It'd be a better world when we quit being fools about some mildewed town or 10 acres of swampland just because we happen to be born there. You seem to be a genuine cosmopolite, I said admiringly, but it also seems that you would decry patriotism. A relic of the Stone Age, declared Colin warmly. We are all brothers, Chinamen, Englishmen, Zulus, Patagonians, and the people in the bend of the Kaw River. Some day all this petty pride in one city or state or section or country will be wiped out, and we'll all be citizens of the world, as we ought to be. High five on that one. But while we are wandering in foreign lands, I persisted, do not your thoughts revert to some spot, some dear and nary a spot, interrupted E.R. Colin flippantly. The terrestrial, globular, planetary hunk of matter, slightly flattened at the poles and known as the Earth, is my abode. I've met a good many object-bound citizens of this country abroad. I've seen men from Chicago sit in a gondola in Venice on a moonlit night and brag about their drainage canal. I've seen a southerner, on being introduced to the King of England, hand that monarch, without batting his eyes, the information that his grand aunt on his mother's side was related by marriage to the Perkinses of Charleston. I knew a New Yorker who was kidnapped for ransom by some Afghanistan bandits. His people sent over the money and he came back to Kabul with the agent. Afghanistan? The native said to him through an interpreter. Well, not so slow, do you think? Oh, I don't know, says he, and he begins to tell them about a cab driver on 6th Avenue and Broadway. Those ideas don't suit me. I'm not tied down to anything that isn't 8,000 miles in diameter. Just put me down as E. Rushmore Colin, citizen of the terrestrial sphere. My cosmopolite made a large adieu and left me, for he thought that he saw someone through the chatter and smoke whom he knew. So I was left with the would-be periwinkle, who was reduced to Würzburger without further ability to voice his aspirations to perch, melodious, upon the summit of a valley. Yes, you meet those types out in the sea. I sat reflecting upon my evident cosmopolite and wondering how the poet had managed to miss him. He was my discovery, and I believed in him. How was it? The men that breed from them, they traffic up and down, but cling to their city's hem as a child to the mother's gown. Not so, E. Rushmore Colon. I feel like we're being watched. Sometimes it's my butcher bird, he's got a really big energy. But I can't see him, so no. Not so E. Colon, with the whole world for his. My meditations were interrupted by a tremendous noise and conflict in another part of the cafe. I saw above the heads of the seated patrons E. Rushmore Colon and a stranger to me engaged in terrific battle. They fought between the tables like titans, and glasses crashed and men caught their hats up and were knocked down, and a brunette screamed and a blonde began to sing, teasing. My cosmopolite was sustaining the pride and reputation of the earth when the waiters closed in on both combatants with their famous flying wedge formation and bore them outside, still resisting. I called McCarthy, one of the French garçons, and asked him the cause of the conflict. The man with the red tie, that was my cosmopolite, said he, got hot on account of things said about the bum sidewalks and water supply of the place he'd come from by the other guy. Why? Said I, bewildered. That man is a citizen of the world, a cosmopolite. He, originally from Mattawamkeag, Maine, he said, continued McCarthy, and he wouldn't stand for no knocking the place. The end. And thus concludes today's readings of Even Date. I'm a bit tired, and it's 1 hour and 52 minutes, and much of that was me meandering and telling you about my outing yesterday at Maiala Forest, which refreshes me. Even my skin's got a little bit of a glow. So I'm going to rest now. Much love to you all from my little sacred space here at Holland Park, Brisbane, Australia. Going nowhere fast in my cosmopolitan fantasies, my antediluvian fantasies of travelling the world and being in every magical and sacred space with a handsome, gorgeous, devoted lover by my side, kind of like Good Man Friday to, that pirate that meandered around the world in that story, Treasure Island, am I right? But that ended badly because they got stuck on the deserted island for a while. Where am I going with that? No deserted islands for Mama T. Wherever I go, there must be a generator or some kind of electricity, because I like my creature comforts. I do. And I might go on a long trek to somewhere distant, but I need my fresh water and clean air and worthy companionship. Oh, smallest violin. Delete, 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 delete. Let's not delete, delete, but let's create, co-create with my mate, the psychedelic dreamer. She never quits, you know. You've got to hold on to your manifestations. One day, just one fine day, babies might even come true for me and for you. Love to you all. Bye for now from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm.